Africans are getting richer. That at least is the conclusion of the 2018 Africa Wealth Report by Afrasia Bank. Individual wealth on the continent grew to $2.3 trillion between 2007 and 2017. 920 billion of that is held by high net worth individuals, those individuals who basically have a net worth of at least $1 million. But here's the thing, despite growing wealth on the continent, Africans collectively still make up a very small percentage of global wealth around the world. CGTN's Sumitra Nydoo now explains.
African people are better off now than they were before the 2008 financial crisis. Individual wealth grew by 13% to $2.3 trillion between 2007 and 2017. But the average African is also moving up the ladder and is now valued at around $2,000.
There's a lot of urbanization that's going on in Africa, people moving into cities, which are economic enablers in terms of business, in terms of careers, in terms of the things that generate wealth. The value of people's residential properties and residential property investments. There are other investments, for instance, in the equity market, in funds, perhaps private equity, and cash and bonds.
Sports cars is a big one, particularly in South Africa. A bit of an issue with sports cars in some other countries in Africa because the road systems are not as good. But 4x4s, luxury 4x4s are quite big in Africa. Also, people are buying collectibles increasingly like art. Also, the classic car market's taking off.
The report showed wealth continued to grow in Nigeria and Egypt, but South Africa topped the list with Johannesburg being the wealthiest city.
There's been a long history of investment in infrastructure. I also think that the economy is very advanced. It's been predominantly commodities based in the past, which has paid big dividends to South Africa. Today there's more diversification into banking, financial services and technology, which generates a lot of wealth for South Africans.
Mauritius has been the strongest performing market. It has grown by a phenomenal 195% in the last 10 years. Despite not holding the most wealth, it has the most equal nation in contrast to richest countries.
South Africa, Egypt and Nigeria have had a bit of a tough time over the last 10 years, and they have definitely been affected by wealth migration and wealthy people leaving. But there's obviously been a lot of other issues that have also, impacted on the stock markets in those countries.
Africa makes up just 1% of global wealth, but that's expected to grow by 34% over the next 10 years. And most of that wealth creation is going to come from Mauritius, Ghana, Rwanda and Uganda. Sadly, though, in most of those countries, the wealth is not balanced. The gap between the rich and the poor is widening. Sumitra, Nydoo, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.